Okay. Now, the reason I don't spend a lot of time with spheres is because a sphere doesn't exist in two-dimensional shapes, right? I can make a pyramid by folding a two-dimensional four two-dimensional triangles and one two-dimensional square, and I can fold and make a pyramid, yes? You can't do that with a sphere, because a sphere is simply a circle flipped around all infinite directions. Everybody cool? It's not the same shape sliced up and diminishing, right? Like a pyramid, we can all agree it starts with one big one and gets smaller, but a sphere starts with one big circle, gets smaller, but it also gets bigger going the other way, right? So it's really hard to explain how to build a sphere. So I like to leave it completely separate because the explanation for how to build it is pretty complicated. So we just go straight into the formulas because there is no way to build it. Everybody okay with that? So there are the two ways to do a surface area, right? And there is the volume. We're going to come back and I'm going to talk a little bit about both of them. The first thing I want to talk about is, you know how in your data booklet it shows you, like here for a cylinder, what each part of the cylinder is, and then it gives you the whole formula, right? But you notice for a sphere it doesn't do that. But very often in math class we deal with half spheres, don't we? Which are called hemispheres, right? So I just want to take a moment, and in this blank space here I want to talk about hemisphere, which is a half a sphere, okay? So let's just talk about that for a sec. Mathematically speaking, how would I take this surface area and cut it in half so I had a hemisphere? What would I have to do? What would it look like on paper if I were to write down cutting this in half? Anyone? Anyone? Okay, I made the question too difficult. There's a number. What number is that? 1. How do you show in math that you have cut that number in half? No. There's only 4 kinds of math: add, subtract, multiply, and divide. What is the one? Which is the one of those 4 maths that takes this number and cuts it in half? Divide by what? 2. Thank you. Excellent. Now, how do I show that on the piece of paper? I do a line and I write 2. Everybody cool? Okay, so I'll ask again. How do I in math show I am cutting that in half? I divide by 2. Everyone agree? Okay, so what would that answer be? 2 pi r squared. Everyone agrees? Okay, but there's a problem with that. Because when I cut a sphere in half, what happens to that shape right there? What shape is that through the middle of a sphere? A circle, yes? Is that circle part of this 4 pi r squared? Yes or no? No, why? Because it's on the inside. But once I cut the thing in half, is it now part of the surface area? So what do I got to do here? What have I added? I cut it in half, so now this part is gone, right? So this part is the pi r squared, yes? But have I accounted for this new circle? Yes or no? No, so I have to count for it now, don't I? So I have to add how much? What am I adding when I cut a sphere in half? I add another pi r squared, don't I? Because that's that circle. Is everybody with me? Now, how many pi r squareds are there? 2. How many are there? 1. So how many pi r squareds are there in the surface area of a hemisphere? 3 pi r squared. Does everybody understand that? Yeah? Everyone's cool? Okay. Let's go over to volume. This is the way we always write volume. And kids get distressed by it because of what? What about that formula is distressing? Yes, Noah? What do you do with that fraction? Well, some of your calculators, you can punch in fractions. If you have this button, A, B/C, or a button that looks like this with blanks, you can actually punch fractions into your calculator, and it will do your work for you. But not every calculator has that. So what I like to do for this one is I rewrite it as 4 pi r cubed, then everything divided by 3. Kind of like how we did the pyramid volume, yes? This isn't so bad because then you can enter that on your calculator in brackets and then push divided by 3. Then that fraction isn't a hassle. Everybody cool? All right, so let's do a question. And again, I remind you, for math class, we do stupid situations, right? That force you to do extra math that you would never do in real life. And this is a good example of that. Because as you can see, Amber's going to wrap up a basketball as a present for her brother. Of course, if you were giving someone a basketball, you would not wrap it as an inflated ball. It's pretty easy to guess what it is, right? But it's a math question, so we're going to do this. And we're going to do this question because it actually allows me to do double work. We've done a lot of practice with surface area in other shapes. We've done a lot of practice with formulas. What we haven't practiced is this type of question. What is the radius of the ball? So we're actually finding something from the ball that isn't part of the surface area. Okay, everybody cool with that? We're not going to do anything different. We're still going to follow the same method of doing things. So we're wrapping the ball up, so we only care about the surface area. We know the ball is a sphere, so we write out our surface area formula. 4 pi r squared. Yes? Okay. Now, usually, I'm given the radius, and I'm finding the surface area, aren't I? Right? But in this case, what do we know? Do we know the surface area or do we know the radius? We know the surface area. So in this case, because we know the surface area, we're going to take that number and we're going to put it in the equation for surface area. So there's my surface area, there's my surface area. So what I'm writing now is 2,500 equals 4 pi r squared. And the question is, I need to find r. Now, I'm giving you this question now, even though we haven't done any surface area or volume with spheres, because we've done so much practice with formulas, I'm not worried about you being able to figure this out. But I do want to make sure everybody in the room can still do algebra. Can you? Let's see. What would you do first with this question to get r? What is your job in algebra? A little part of Matt Myers' heart died that day. He asked 30 kids in the 10th grade what their job in algebra was, and nobody could answer. Daniel. Find the unknown. Find the unknown. What does that mean? Yeah, so you got to get the unknown by itself, right? Great, that is your job. Well done. Mr. Myers' heart bloomed with the right answer given by the kid in the back corner. So, how are you going to do it? You move the 4 over. How? By dividing. Okay. Why is it division? Because I multiplied here. I want to get rid of it, so I divide. So if I divide that side by 4, what do I got to do to this side? Divide it by 4. And that's going to get rid of my 4, yes? What else do I need to get rid of? The pi. How do I get rid of that pi? I eat it. But no, seriously, how do I get rid of the pi? Divide again. That's going to get rid of the pi. So what do I got to do over here? Divide by pi. Now this causes trouble when you go to your calculator. So now I've got my r squared aces. What's going to happen here? How do I punch that into my calculator? Should I punch it into my calculator right now? Should I? Yes or no? You got a 50-50 shot.
No.
No? Okay. So I've got 2,500 over 4 pi equals r squared. What's the last thing I need to do to get r by itself? Divide? Noah? Square root. Just like in Pythagoras, right? We're left with c squared. We've got a square root to get rid of a square. So what do I got to do to this side? If I do something to one side, I got to do the same thing over here. So I just put a square root in there. So what do I got to do here? Square root. Everybody cool? So now r equals the square root of 2,500 over 4 pi. Now, in the 10th grade, you guys already know that because pi is involved, we're not going to get a pretty decimal, are we? So am I allowed to leave it like that? Does that make your math teacher happy? Yes, it does. Will it make all math teachers happy? I can't guarantee that, can I? And you have at least 2 more years of math teachers, don't you? So we could go one step further, yes? We could punch this into our calculator, this whole thing. But why is that difficult? There's a lot of stuff going on there, isn't there? And everybody's calculator is different, right? So let's practice punching that into our calculators. Everybody try to punch that in. Don't yell out an answer. Just get an answer. Okay? 2 is wrong. I said don't yell out an answer. Don't yell out an answer. Try to get the answer with your calculator and see what you get. Okay, but again, don't yell it out because everybody's calculator is different. So I'm not going to teach you how to punch it into your calculator. I just want to see if you guys can, and then we'll talk about how. Okay? Go. Shouldn't take too long to punch it in. We've done all the work. And I will take the answer to 1 decimal place when you think you have it. Don't yell it out. I'm going to get a few answers from everybody. All right, that should be enough time. Everybody who is bothered to try it has an answer on their calculator? Okay, what are some numbers you have? 14.1. I got a 14.1 centimeters, right? Yeah. Anybody else? Everybody else got 14.1? Who tried it? Connor? 3.9. Okay. Anybody else? 198.95. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to stop there because it'll prove my point. How big's a basketball? About. Are we happy to say it's about this wide? That's 30 centimeters. So the radius, if that's the diameter, the radius must be that one, right? So Daniel, you are right. Now Connor, the reason I wrote this down, and I'm not trying to put you down, would you have submitted that as your answer? No, of course not, because that would mean the basketball was this big. It is not a basketball for hobbits. It is a basketball for people. And Vicky, would you have submitted your answer? The radius for Vicky is 2 meters, which means the basketball is 4 meters wide, which is the length of this room. Would you have submitted your answer? No. Right? Now, I believe these two because I've taught both of them. I haven't taught many of the rest of you. And there are some of you that would submit those answers, and then when I said, what the hell are you talking about? You would say, and I quote, my calculator said so. Even though those answers make no sense at all. Right? Remember how at the beginning of the year I said, stressed reasonableness. You've got to give some thought to what you are writing down on your piece of paper. Okay? All right, so let's figure out how to actually do this. What is happening here? Describe to me in words all this math. Okay, I'll make it simpler. We'll go in stages. What is happening here? No, I lie. What is happening there? Just the blue part. What math is happening with 4 and pi? Jordan? Multiplication. That's 4 times pi, yes? Okay. Now what is happening with this black line right here? Division. And what is being divided? That 2,500, yes? So the inside there, I am doing 2,500 divided by, is it divided by 4? Is it divided by pi? Or is it divided by 4 pi? 4 pi. Does your calculator know that you want this to be grouped? No, it doesn't. So what do you have to do to your calculator so your calculator knows that you need it to do 4 times pi there? Jordan, brackets. You gotta use brackets. You guys probably haven't used your brackets a lot on your calculator up to grade 10. You're going to use them all the time. So get familiar with them. So to get this to go into your calculator, just the bottom here, you're going to need to do 2,500 divided by bracket. Now my calculator, I don't have to push 4 times pi. I can just go 4 pi. But a great many of you might have to push 4 times pi. Then I close the brackets. There's the 198. Yeah? Okay. Now, what does this sign say? Square root, yeah? So I got to square root this answer. Here's a mistake that you guys make all the time. You get an answer, and then you push clear. And that answer disappears. Because you don't have a calculator like mine that holds a bunch of stuff on the screen, right? If you have a regular calculator, it only holds one number on the screen. The second you push another number, that number's disappearing, isn't it? So what should you do? You have 2 choices. One, you can write it down. This equals the square root of 198.94, I think it was, right? Then you just round it off. Or you can learn another awesome feature of your calculator that almost all of your calculators have. Look around on your calculator for this. Somewhere on your calculator, will be written the letters ANS. Does everybody have it? Do you know what it means? Answer. It means answer. It's the last thing your calculator did for you. Okay? So if you have a regular calculator, may I borrow yours for 1 second? If you have a regular calculator like this that only shows one number at a time, as soon as you push a new number or do something new, that disappears, right? So let's pretend I have a regular calculator. I'm going to go ahead and clear it. So now we're looking at this. I've already written down the 198, but I forgot to write it down. But I know the last thing that it did was this division, right? So I can go square root. Now my calculator is the square root first. Then I can push that answer button. And it's going to give me the square root of my last answer. Everybody cool? If you haven't used that answer key, it's going to be one of your best friends this year. Get used to using it here when it's easy. Good? Leave stuff on your calculator. Resist the urge to push clear and move on until you know if you need it or not. Everybody good? So then I get my answer. Now remember, if your calculator is a backwards calculator, you might have to do answer square root. But who's the only person that knows how your calculator works? You. I don't know what kind of calculator you have. So you got to know how to run it. Everybody cool? Sweet. Let's move on. Except my computer's frozen. So let's have a moment and talk with each other. How's it going, guys? Yeah? Yeah? Enjoying math? Yes, you are, Robert. Don't be that way. Math's everybody's favorite class. I know. I hated math too. I despised it. I'm not lying. I hated math. All the way through high school, all the way through university. I hated it. Hated it. But now I've come to appreciate it. I don't know why. I think it was because I never got many cool math teachers. Not like you guys. Okay, page 34. Again, stupid math class problem, right? Not something you would ever care about in real life, but let's have a look at it. Jim places 3 golf balls inside a 3x3x9 cardboard box. If the balls fit perfectly snugly against all sides of the box, find the volume of the box which remains as empty space. I don't care. And nor should you care, right? But it is math class, so let's start figuring it out. How am I going to do this? What shape is the box? It's a rectangular pyramid, yes? Or prism, right? So 3x3x9. Everyone agree? Right? And I'm putting how many golf balls in there? 3. So 1, 2, 3. And they fit perfectly. Right? So what does that mean the radius of the ball is? 1.5, right? So, and I want the empty space. So I'm going to need to do what math there? There's only 4 maths. Which is the one that is going to find me the empty or leftover space? Pardon? The volume is what I'm going to be finding, right? But I need to find the empty volume. So what math is that? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide? Subtract, right? Because I had a box, and that box has empty space in it. So it must be the volume of the prism minus the volume of how many spheres? The volume of 3 spheres, yes? Okay, how do I find the volume of a prism? Base area times height, right? So the volume of the prism is always area of base times the height, yes? Okay, great. What's the area of the base of this box? 9, because it's 3 times 9, correct? Excellent. What is the volume of 3 spheres? What's the volume of 1 sphere? No, that's the radius. What's the volume of a sphere? 4 pi r cubed over what? 3. And how many spheres do I have? 3 of them. What's going to happen to those 3s when they appear on the screen? Why? Because this is multiply and they're gone. If you write out the formula, does it save you a ton of work? Yes. So I know I just have to subtract 1 sphere, 4 pi r cubed, without the 3. And now I can punch that into my calculator, can't I? What's 3 times 3? What's 9 times 9? 81 minus 4 pi r cubed. Well, we know r is what? 1.5 cubed. Now this becomes difficult to punch into our calculator, doesn't it? What is it? What math is happening here? 4 times pi times 1.5 cubed. How do I do 1.5 cubed on my calculator? Either you have to use the button that cubes, but not all calculators have that, or you got to use the exponent button. Not all calculators' exponent buttons look like that, though, do they? It might be y with an x. It might be a little mountain symbol, which is called a caret. And it might be an x with a blank, or it might be a y with a blank. So you have to push that button and then 3. So everybody try to punch that into their calculator in one go and see if you get the right answer. I'm going to write up the right answer in a moment. Who has an answer for me? Nice. Good job. 38.59, because I like 2 decimals, right? If we're going to go to a decimal. Everybody cool? Everybody good? Everybody could make that work on their calculator? Right? Okay. Good. Everything's coming up rosy. So we're done, and you have 27 minutes to finish page 35, 36, 37, and 38. Now, look down the side. What's coming right after this? Quiz. Today is Tuesday. You're going to finish this Tuesday. Wednesday, we're going to go over it, make sure everybody can do it. Right? So your quiz will be when? Tomorrow. Thursday. So we're going to go over this tomorrow. I want you to have a night to study. So you have quiz on surface area and volume on Thursday. Okay? Okay. Also, Thursday is an X block day. If you wish to sign up and come here, I will be here. Everybody good? Go. I'm going to take attendance and I will start walking around and helping people like I usually do. Yes. Yes.